reminds me of how the first ever UFC. Did you hear about that?
No.
Well, if you know Freddie for Freddie, well, they've got a podcast.
Oh yeah.
So I think their podcast has stories that don't come on.
Oh, ESPN.
ESPN,
Yeah.
but they've got a podcast, and one of the podcasts on Freddie for Freddie podcast is the birth of UFC.
Yeah.
It's the similar sort of thing because it was invented by a car salesman.
Oh yeah.
This is before. This is before Dana White and that.
Yeah.
This is way before. So it was the car salesman. You know those American car salesmen with the cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And they do those out of it ads on TV.
Oh, so he had no fighting background, nothing.
Nah, he was one of those guys. Those car salesman guys does those cheap ads. But he loved watching kung fu movies. He loved action movies.
Yeah.
And he thought of one day he thought about, man, what if a wrestler fought a kung fu guy who fought a boxer?
Yeah, that vision.
Who
Yeah.
fought a kickboxer? Who would win? Like he had that kind of thing, and he was, how about? Man, I would love to see a event where all these different styles of fighting come together and fight each other.
Yeah.
So who's the best style?
I remember I watched clips of the first. They called it the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
Yeah.
Then they shortened it down later.
So he that's how it started. His vision of doing that, and he went around trying to make it happen. So
because he needed sponsors.
He needed sponsors and needed first he needed a boxing license. He couldn't get one for what he wanted to do in LA, in California, and he couldn't get in anywhere on the West Coast. But he could get it in
Las Vegas,
in Colorado, in Denver. So he had to go do it there.
Yeah.
And he didn't have any fighters in that, so he asked like random guys, like, asked his bouncer to jump in. So bouncer jumped in, sumo wrestler jumped in. So Island guy, sumo wrestler in Japan, he jumped in. So somehow he got all these through connections. He got all these guys that actual fight somewhere.
Yeah.
Or retired fighters, or just people that love fighting.
Yeah.
You know, sumo wrestler, and got a bouncer. That kind of stuff. And he actually got a TV deal. It was a small one in Denver, and he had a big event. So he had to get people to come be the announcer. And all that. But none of them had any experience. So he had to hire someone with experience to manage it all. And then it was funny because this guy, he got upset because none of the people he was working with had experience.
Oh.
So he was ika at them, like not being professional. Like the announcer and that, stuff will happen. Like the camera will not be straight and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, even the camera crew.
Yeah.
Oh, bro.
And so it was UFC 1, the first one, and but they got an ambulance, one ambulance, but it was a similar sort of thing when they got one ambulance, not thinking they need more than that, and because every fight was. Man, they needed medical attention.
Yeah, every fight.
Yeah. Every fight needed someone medical attention. I think someone got their teeth knocked out.
Yeah.
And blood went everywhere.
I think I've seen some of the footage.
Yeah. And then, so the ambulance took that guy. And then another injury, needed ambulance. So they had to ring up the ambulance and no ambulance available. So it was that kind of thing. So it was unorganized like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a valuable lesson that they learned.
That's out of it. Yeah, that's exactly like the gladiators.
But to me, when I was thinking about that, I was thinking, man, this is like so random, man. Like it's like it's typical America, eh? Like if you got a dream and got money, you can do it.
Yeah.
I don't know how he got sponsors, but he got sponsors. He might have had to use some of his own money. But yeah, they had a TV deal and all that. It was just a local
TV, yeah.
It wasn't a national TV or anything like that. It wasn't big or anything like that, but it was the first one. But it's funny how you can do something without knowing, like having experience, and you can just start something.
Yeah, this if you have a dream, goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, but make sure you got a vision, and like all these people that started like the gladiators and the UFC obviously had vision. But the guy that started the gladiators, he was an Elvis impersonator.
Oh, hey.
So, how can Elvis impersonator, gladiators?
Yeah. So, it kind of it kind of makes sense if you see what happened to UFC, because here's this guy, random guy that is his
No
vision,
background.
no background enough, and he does it. It gets to the point where people start get interested in it. Dana White comes along and he buys it. You
Yeah.
know? I don't know how much.
Better.
I don't know how much. I don't know how much money he bought it for, but
Yeah.
it must have been a lot, eh? Because look at it now.
Yeah,
It's huge now, eh?
massive.
Yeah, it's huge now. It's probably worth. It's probably not even worth what he sold it for back then, eh?
Yeah, it's worth. Isn't it? Will it be billions?
Well, he took it to. Yeah, he took that. He took that company. He bought that company, the UFC, and he just made it big, eh? Took it around the world, and look at it now. $1 billion company,
$1 billion.
Mm.